Go ahead and sit up on your blanket, your block, your bolster, anything to give your hips a little more height. And I just want to go through the studio announcements real quick. Try and keep things as normal as possible. So, first of all, we would love your feedback. You know, we're waiting for Governor DeWine to make decisions on gyms and yoga studios, and it's going to be at least a couple more weeks for sure. I don't think our studio really has any plans but until June 1st. I know we don't, but we're working on that. We're trying to accommodate what our students would feel most comfortable with. So please give us some feedback on our page. First announcement. All right, second announcement, if you're practicing online and you feel compelled to make a donation to the studio, you know, we have a lot of fixed costs that don't go away. The teachers are all offering classes for free, and we're glad that we can be part of the community and support you that way. But if you would like to make a donation to the studio, that would be welcome because, you know, we're a small business. We could use the help, but if you're not in a place to do that, please come anyway. We're glad that you're here. And speaking of staying connected, as always, thank you so much for reaching out and saying hello or practicing with us. Even if you're not practicing with us live, you know, you can do it through the through the YouTube page. You can also practice on Facebook. You just go under videos instead of doing the live part. So if you miss class or you want to try some different teachers, now is a great time to do that. So I didn't want you to get too comfortable in your seated pose because actually this morning we're going to start off on our bellies. So go ahead and lay down on your belly, stack your hands, and place your head to rest on your hands. As you begin to settle into a rhythm with your breath, begin to notice where the breath is settling in on your body. So by constricting the belly, by laying flat on the belly, you open up a lot of space along the back of the body. You can feel the breath moving in through the shoulders and up through the rib cage. Maybe you can feel the breath move all the way down the length of the spine towards the tailbone. And as you connect to your breath, you relax and soften into the space. I'd like to share with you, this is Stephen Mitchell's translation from the Tao Te Ching. And this is one of my favorite readings. I've had it for a long time. I've shared it many times. Something that I think that all of us are in need of right now, a message that we're all in need of, including myself. Oftentimes the things that I choose to share with you are not so much because I think that you need them, but more for myself. Anyhow, here it is. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. It's move through our practice with that sense of simplicity, patience, compassion. Now maybe what you notice in the stillness, as you sit, or as you rest on your belly, is the rise and fall of the breath in the back of your body. Sometimes we refer to that part of the body as the body of faith because we never actually see our backs, but we know they're there, especially when our backs choose to check in with us in a physical way. So by taking the breath into the back of the body, we sort of nourish the back body. All right, now let's come up and come into child's pose. So you'll take your knees out to the wide edges of the mat. You'll bring your big toes towards each other, and your hips are coming heavy over your heels. You'll relax your forearms down to the floor. If your head won't come to the floor, you'll put a block or something to support your head, or you'll bring your head all the way down. Relaxing the head down to the floor, breathing in, breathing out. Don't be afraid to use a prop. The props are there to help you. And you feel a heaviness in your hips, and you feel some space in the low back. And although the belly is not as constricted as it was when we were lying on the belly, can you engage the strength of your core just enough, lifting the belly towards the spine to really feel that freedom of the breath moving through the back of your body, that body of faith. You know it's there. And then let's inhale, come all the way up, bring yourself into a tabletop with the knees underneath your hips and the wrist creases underneath your shoulders. Your hands should be just a little broader than your shoulders, and make sure you're pushing into the ball mounts of your index fingers. And then taking your time, exhale, reach your belly button up towards the ceiling, exhaling out the breath. Just as mindfully, drop your chest down towards the floor. Make your way up into an arched cow shape. Exhale through to cat. Inhale back to cow. And it becomes this nice steady rhythm back and forth between your cat and your cow. So you're connecting breath to movement. And you're just keeping it simple. Just moving with the rhythm of your breath. And you're not in a hurry. That's that sense of patience. And maybe there's a place that you're longing to stay a little bit longer. And if that's the case, that's that compassion. So don't hesitate to hang out a little longer in your cat if that's working great for you. Or if you feel like cow is more the space that you need to be this morning. And we'll come back into a neutral space. Tabletop is a pose. It's a neutral space in that nothing is overextended or engaged. Everything is sort of balanced. So we'll breathe into that nice neutral space. Push into the ball mounts of your index fingers so you're not pushing into your wrist. And then go ahead and walk your hips back over your heels. Push down into the backs of your heels. You'll get a little stretch in the arch of the feet. Now, if that feels terrible to you, don't do it. Okay? Take a full breath in. Lift your chest. Engage your core. All right, now reach for your blanket and bring it so that you can sit up on it. Now, if you don't have a blanket nearby and you want to sit up on a block, sit on a block. A pillow is also a good idea. Anything just to give your hips a little bit of height. And we'll take the knees out wide. Good. Now, if you can bring one ankle in front of the other, fun. If you can't, also fine. If you want, you can mix it up. So believe it or not, we have a favorite side when we sit like this. So this morning I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Sit on the opposite side, and maybe it feels slightly different. Good. And then take a breath here. Stack from your hips up into your armpits. Feel yourself get nice and long. Engage the core as you feel the breath move through the back of your body. Let your head come back just enough so it's the chin coming straight back on a rail, not lifting the head or dropping the chin. It's just straight back. Good. And feel your breath. Release your hands out to the sides. Take a breath. Turn the palms. Inhale. Arms come up and overhead. Soften your shoulders. Exhale, release. Inhale, float on the breath. Exhale, release. Another breath. Reach the arms up and overhead. Soften your shoulders. Drop the right hand. Anchor into your left hip. Reach from the left hip through the left fingertips. Inhale and come back and switch sides. Good. We'll do that 2 more times, just sort of moving with the rhythm of your breath, moving with that sense of patience, stretching and finding what works for you. Sometimes I lose count. I think that we're even here. Inhale and come back to center. Good. Now, take your heels out in front of you with your knees bent and your heels are on the floor, but your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Bring your hands right underneath your, what are those called? Thighs. And the knees are up towards the ceiling. So your hands are underneath the knees on the thighs. Good. Okay, take a breath. Exhale and push your low back towards the floor. Keep your shoulders as steady as you can. And then dragging your heels back, lift your chest up. So you're curling up into that cow stretch we were doing, just coming at it from a seated pose. So it's cat-cow in a seated pose. And you'll notice maybe some parts of your body are quick to jump into, participating. See if you can balance that out. So when we come into our cow stretch, we tend to arch into the low back, no problem. But can you lift your chest without bending into the neck? Let the heart lift up. And then as you exhale, it's easy to round into the shoulders first. See if you can push the belly button straight back, keeping the shoulders stable. Inhale, lift up into your cat. Exhale, move through to your cow. And it just becomes this nice steady rhythm, just like when we were doing it in tabletop, just a slightly different foundation. And we'll come back to neutral. And take your blankets, put them off to the sides. And come to standing pose. So when we come into a standing pose, we want the toes from the middle of the ankle to the second toe to point forward. And you can actually think about taking your inseams on your pants and sort of rolling them in. And you'll notice your booty sticks out a little bit. That's kind of interesting, right? When you do that, you get a curve in the low back. Bend your knees a little bit. Keep the curve in the low back, but then lift the belly so the tailbone drops a little and you feel yourself get long up through the top of the head. Good. So this is called Tadasana or mountain pose, and we are standing and we're balanced and we're breathing. So we're in a pose, right? Inhale, float the arms up and overhead. Exhale the hands through the center of your heart. Inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale, back to heart center. Good, and one more breath. Reach the arms up and overhead. Push down into your feet. Feel yourself get really long. Good. All right, now turn the corners of your mouth up because it's Saturday morning. That's right, in case you lost track. Good. Now turn your right palm up to the ceiling. Reach your left hand for the right wrist. Lean over to your left. Extend long through the right side of your body, keeping the right shoulder anchored towards the foot, but reaching long through the left side. Inhale, come back. Let's go the opposite way. Good. Inhale, come back. Switch sides. Inhale back, switch sides. Good, come back. Try to keep your hips square to the front of your mat. If you feel yourself leaning one direction or the other, let the stretch come through the ribs. And then we'll come back to center. Good, take your hands to heart center. All right, now, this isn't going to be quite as dramatic as when we do cat-cow on all fours, and definitely not as when we're sitting, but we want to find cat-cow from a standing position. So go ahead and push your belly back, keep your shoulders right over your hips. See if you can find that arch in the low back, and then inhale and lift your heart up towards your chest. Exhale, curl the spine. Inhale, lift. One more time, curling the spine. Inhale, lift. Good. 2 more times, actually. So that'll be 5 times total. And we're just sort of waking up the length of the spine, especially the back of the body. Good. All right. Now take your hands to the tops of the thighs. Come into that half forward fold. Elbows point towards the ceiling. Knees stay soft. Good. Your head points towards the top of your mat. Push down into your feet. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach your arms up and overhead. And exhale, take your hands through the heart center. All right, come into that half forward fold again. Extending long. And then push down into your feet and come all the way up to stand. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Woo. All right, cool. All right, reach your arms up and overhead. Now exhale, hinge at the hips. And bring your knees so they're bent. Reach your palms to the floor, step your feet back, plank pose. Good, and then inhale, lift up, downward facing dog. Snuggle the shoulders onto the back. Go ahead and swish your hips from side to side. And feeling the shoulders hug onto the back. Take a breath as you push down into the ball mounts of the index fingers. Feel your hips lift up to the ceiling. So just that little action of hugging the forearms towards each other creates space up through the hips. Surrender the knees to the floor. You may want to have your blocks nearby. Take a breath and bring your right foot up to your right hand. The blocks you can bring next to your hips. Good. And then push into that right knee so it comes right over the ankle. Inhale and lift your shoulders up over your hips. Start to breathe nice and even as you reach your arms up and overhead, and then melt your shoulders away. So the blocks sometimes can be there just as a support, right? You don't need to use them. They're just there so you know that they're there. The heart's going to lift. All right, now take a breath here and round into the low back. A little cat. And then inhale, lift up a little cow. A little cat. A little cow. So the legs are nice and stable. The core is nice and stable. Cat and cow. Good. Release your hands to the blocks. Bring the blocks forward. Extend from the left knee through the top of the head. Hug the legs towards each other. Breathe here and notice. And then we'll take the right knee back and bring the left foot forward. Once the left knee is under, or the left ankle is under the knee, walk the blocks back again. Find the shape of your low lunge. Reach the arms up and overhead. We'll soften the shoulders and find a stability, a nice even breathing. And exhale into your cat. Inhale back up through to your cow. So it's not dramatic, but it's there, right? The legs have to work together just to add that little bit of movement. We'll come all the way up. Release your hands to the floor. Take your left foot back to meet your right. You're in that low plank pose. Good. All right, engage your core with your elbows right next to your body. Lower your chest halfway down. And then come all the way down to the floor. Rock a little bit so you're nice and even on both sides. Feel the tops of your feet push into the floor. Drag your hands back. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale your forehead down to the mat. Curl your toes. Lift up into a plank pose. And from plank, lift up into downward facing dog. Good morning, Judy. I know how you love down dogs. Good to see you. Full breath in, full breath out. Release your knees to the floor. Bring your right foot forward again. Inhale, rise up. So you're in the low lunge or Alanasana. Lifting the heart any amount. We'll make a little space in the hips by releasing the hands to the floor and heel-toeing that right foot out to the side. So this could be your bus stop this morning. It's a nice little hip stretch opener. If you have blocks nearby, you could place your hands or your forearms on the block. If you feel like I would like to place my forearms on the floor, then do that. Engage the core. And again, feel the breath moving through the back of your body. When we first start practicing yoga and people tell us to take our breath to certain parts of the body, it feels a little foreign because we think of filling the lungs with breath. But you can actually feel the space in the low back rise and fall here by engaging the core and letting the breath move through the back. Okay, let's bring the hands back to the floor. We'll take that right leg back to meet the left. And then we'll bring the left foot up. We start off with the left knee right over the ankle. If it's not there, you can use your hand and drag it there. Inhale, rise up, reach your arms up. Soften your shoulders away. Engage the core as you lift the heart. Breathe and notice. Okay, now take the hands to the inside of the left foot. Heel toe the left foot out to the side. Take a breath. Beautiful. Remember, you have options here. You can keep your hands on the floor. You could lower down to the blocks. You could lower all the way down to the forearms. Make sure you're continuing to feel the breath move all the way through the back of your body. let's take the left knee back to meet the right. We're in low plank again, engaging the strength of the core. Zip up the pants. That's another way of thinking of it, right? Take a breath in. Keep your elbows right next to your body. Slowly lower your chest down halfway. And if you think it's fun, push up. Otherwise, come all the way down. Let's do that again. And we'll do that a third time. And then we'll come all the way through. Come up into cobra again. Dragging the hands back as you push into the tops of the feet. Remembering to breathe. All right, curl your toes under. Lift up into plank pose. And then we'll lift up into downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg, three-legged dog. Push into the right heel, extending long from the right heel, pushing into the ball mounts of the index fingers. Look in between your hands, bend the right knee, float, and or drag, right? You can take your hand and drag it if you need to, until the right ankle is underneath the right knee. Turn your left heel to the earth. Inhale, rise up. Good. All right, so the right knee is still weight bearing over the ankle. The shoulders are over the hips. And we'll float the arms out wide. Look out over the right hand. And settle the weight of your shoulders down into your hips. Hug the legs towards one another, almost as if you're dragging the mat in every direction, right? So the legs are super strong and the head is light. Now drop that left hand, reach the right arm up towards the ceiling, soften the right shoulder down, reach the right hand behind you, stretching into a reverse warrior. Float the right elbow to the right knee, reach the left arm over the left ear. Keep the legs strong. Keep the tailbone reaching towards the heel. Inhale, rise up, warrior two again. Look out over that right hand. Reach the right arm up, drop the left hand, reverse the warrior. Come into your Parsva Konasana or intense side body stretch. So the left foot pushes down to the earth as you reach through the left fingertips. You can even turn your pinky down towards the floor, your palm to the back of the room. Anyone feeling their legs right now? Inhale, rise up. I know I am. You can always straighten your right leg if you need to. Otherwise, we'll just stay stable. Drop the left hand, reach the right arm up, reverse the warrior. Slow flow. Float the right elbow to the right knee, reach the left arm up and overhead, extending from the left foot through the left fingertips. Look down to the floor. Frame your right foot with both hands, lift your left heel. Take your right foot back to meet your left. Plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog. Forward to plank, back into down dog. You can stay in down dog or you can come forward one more time into plank and back into downward facing dog. Now let's lift the left leg, three-legged dog. Float or look to the left hand, float the left foot through, turn the right heel to the earth. And rise up, here in your warrior two. Left knee is weight bearing over the ankle. Shoulders are weight bearing over the hips. Head is weight bearing. Did you know your head weighs like 11 pounds? So the weight of the head dropping to the tailbone. So you want the head to be at the top of the spine. All right, now let's reverse it. Drop the right hand, reach the left hand up. Keep your left knee over the ankle. And then reverse it. Take the left forearm to the left thigh, reach the right arm up and overhead. All right, so you know we're going to do this flow 2 more times. We'll inhale, rise up to warrior 2. If at any point you need to straighten your left leg, then that's what you need to do. Reverse it. Take your left forearm to your left knee. Parvo, extending from the right foot through the right fingertip. Inhale, rise up. Reverse it. Good. Release the left forearm to the left knee. Parvo. Look down. Frame the left foot with the hands. Turn your right heel up. Step the left foot back to meet the right. You're in plank pose. Again, your option is to lift up and down into plank to down dog. Maybe 3 times. Maybe you don't want to do that. That's okay too. And then after you've done what you've wanted to do, come to child's pose. Slow flow. All right? Child's pose are welcome at any point during your practice. When you come into child's pose, even out your breath. Notice what you're noticing. Whenever you're ready, make your way back into downward facing dog. We'll start off by lifting the right leg and bend the right knee and stack your right hip over your left. Look underneath your right armpit. Feel as you push into the ball mounts of your index fingers, your right knee lifting up towards the ceiling. Then look to both hands. Float your right foot up to your right hand. Reach for your blocks if you have them. If not, you'll be able to compromise fairly easily. Step your left foot up about 1/3 of the way and turn your toes out to about 11 o'clock. Straighten your legs. Bring your hands to your hips. Inhale and rise up. Reach your arms up and overhead. Melt your shoulders away. Hug the legs in towards each other. Look and make sure that left foot is turned out to about 11 o'clock, and your feet should be railroaded. So you're not on a balance beam, you're definitely on railroad tracks, and the blocks can kind of give you an idea if that's what's happening. All right, reach the arms up. Now let's find that cat stretch. Take your low back towards the back of the room. Then you'll find your cow stretch. Lift, lift, lift up into the chest. Exhale into your cat. Inhale through to your cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Good. And then come to a neutral space. Even out your hips. Again, engage the strength of the legs. Reach your fingertips forward as you push your hips back. Come halfway forward and then release your hands towards the blocks or towards the floor. Keep the right knee soft. Come into a little bit of a runner stretch. Push down into your feet. Inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Soften your shoulders. Exhale into your cat. Keep the shoulders over the hips. We're moving the spine into our cow. Exhale into your cat. I know some of you might want to play golf later today. So get that spine nice and limber. All right, inhale, come up. Once more, hinge at the hips, push the hips back, reach the head forward, then release the weight of the head over the right leg. Reach for blocks, reach for the leg, keep the hips working square together. Engage the strength of your core, let your head All 11 pounds drop towards the right leg. Push down into your feet. Inhale, slow flow. We're going into our cat-cow again. Even out the hips, strengthen the legs. From that place of strength, find the space in the cat-cow standing runner stretch. All right, hinge at the hips, and once more, release into Parsvottanasana. Push into the right foot, bring the left foot up. Push down into both feet. Inhale, rise up, reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Release your hands to the floor, step back, plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog. Shoulders are strong on the back. Lift the left leg, three-legged dog. Bend the left knee, stack the left hip over the right. Hello. Feel that space from the hands up through the left knee. Breathe and notice. I'm glad you're here this morning. Thanks for coming. If you've tuned in a video version, I'm glad you tuned in. Float the left foot forward, drag the left foot forward, reach for your block, step that right foot about a third of the way up, turn the toes out to about 1 o'clock, heel toe your feet, inhale, rise up, reach the arms up, square the hips off. So you think of your hip pointers being square to the front of the room. Beautiful. All right, arms come up and overhead. Exhale into your cat. Inhale up into your cow. So you're doing your cat-cow with the foundation of a runner's pose. So from the hips down, we're in runner stretch. That left knee is a little bit soft. All right, push back into the hips. Come all the way forward. Release hands to the blocks. So first one may feel like you want the blocks on their highest height. Hug the legs towards each other. Square off the hips. Inhale, rise up. Reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale into your cat stretch. Inhale up into your cow. Back to cat. Up to cow. Back to cat. One more time, up into cow. Reach forward. Runner stretch. Fold over that left leg. Feel the stretch in the space wherever you're feeling it. Notice if one side of your body feels a little more compassionate than the other. Have patience with it. It's that simple. A little play on the words. All right, inhale, rise up. We'll do that a third time. Hips become square. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Back to cat. Inhale, cow. I think this is the third time. I can't remember. I wish I were in a classroom. You guys would let me know. All right, hinge at the hips. We all wish we were in a classroom as we fold over, runner stretch. But you know what? We're glad to be here this morning. I'm glad to be here this morning. All right, push into the left foot. Bring the right foot up to meet it. Take a breath. Push down into both feet. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Forward fold. Palms to the earth. Step your feet back. Plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog. Shoulders are on your back. Lift the right leg, three-legged dog. Bend the right knee, bringing the right hip over the left. Now, keep your shoulders working together. Inhale, lift your head, look over your left shoulder. Hey, you can see your foot there. Wave. All right, all that space along the right side of the body feels good. Look to the right hand. See if you can bring the right knee forward and then the right foot all the way up. Turn your left heel to the earth. Again, you're going to want a block nearby. Straighten into the right leg, left hand to the hip. Take a breath, roll from your belly. Good, right knee is a little bit soft. And you notice that if you lift your toes, that'll help you do that. All right, Push down into your feet. Inhale, rise up. Good. Full breath in. All right, hinge at the hips, find that flow. Make your way into triangle pose. Inhale, come back up. Good. Do that again. Keep your left hip back as you reach forward. Float the right hand to the block. Roll that left shoulder over the right. Take your head back. Good, engage your core. Inhale, come back up. Good. And we'll do that a third time. Triangle pose. And just enjoy the space and the shape. Feeling the left shoulder come over the right. Not worried about putting the right hand on the floor, but actually lifting up from the right fingertips through the left fingertips. So you find that open space between your right hip and your right armpit. You find the strength between the two legs. You're even and you're breathing it. And I'm holding it as long as you are, so I do know how long this is lasting. It's nice, right? Good. Cartwheel your hands to the front edge of your mat. Take your right foot back to meet your left. Downward facing dog. Now let's lift the left leg, three-legged dog. Stack the left hip. Find the stretch along the left side of the body. Keep your shoulders working together. Now lift your head and look over the right shoulder. Maybe wave the left foot to your gaze. All right, look to your left hand. Bring your left foot all the way to the top of your mat. Turn your right heel to the earth. And we'll straighten through the left leg, right hand to the hip. All right, rise up. Ooh, I had to make a little switch for the camera. All right, arms come out wide. 3 rounds of triangle pose. Keep the left leg strong. Reach through the left fingertips. Float into your triangle. Remember, not worried about touching the floor. Worried about keeping the right shoulder over the left. Push into your feet. Inhale, rise up. Reach, reach, reach. Triangle. Hug in, rise up. Good. One more time. Triangle. Cartwheel your hands to frame the left foot. Step your left foot back to meet your right. Come into plank. And step back into downward facing dog. Good. Child's pose. Knees wide out on the outer edges of the mat. Big toes kissed together. Surrender into the space of letting go. All right, let's inhale, lift up into tabletop pose, bringing the knees right underneath the hips. Take a breath here. We're setting up for pigeon. So if you know that pigeon doesn't work for you, coming onto your knees, do it on your back. And I'll explain how to do it on your back after I do this, setting everybody else up. All of the other people out there. Right? So the first version of pigeon, you'll bring your right knee forward. Bring your hands forward so that you have plenty of space, and then walk the right knee out to the edge of your mat. Walk the right foot closer to your left hand, but not to your left hand. Most people, that's not accessible. All right, left foot, you want to lift the left knee and use your left leg for leverage so that your hips come square. So we did all that cat-cow where it was like we were keeping the hips square. The hips stay square here in pigeon pose as well. All right, once the hips are square, let your hips start to sink back evenly, heavy, and then surrender the left knee to the floor. If you feel like putting a block underneath your right hip, you can do that. And if you feel like you'd like to lower to your forearms, you'll do that. Stay here. I'm going to instruct for the people who want to do this on their back. The rest of you stay here in your pigeon pose. You can bring your head all the way to the floor or maybe just to a block. Right. Otherwise, you can do this from your back. You'll cross your right ankle over your left knee. You can wrap your hands or strap around the left leg, and you'll send your left heel up towards the floor. Very similar anatomical things are happening to the body when you do it from this space. So that's your plan B. If traditional pigeon, Ekapada Rajakopatasana, if you're throwing around Sanskrit, doesn't work for you. Right, those of you who are on your backs, you'll just switch sides. Those of you who are in traditional pigeon pose, I'd like for you to just recognize that your right hip might be really almost having a conversation with you at this point, and you'll answer back by putting your hands on the mat and then coming into a tabletop. Remember, that's a nice pose, and then sliding your left toes to the back edge of the mat. Push your right heel towards the back of the mat. Square your hips. So that's a nice way of releasing any tension you may have. Some of you may want to go so far as to lift the right leg, bend the right knee, and stack the right hip over the left. Maybe send the right leg out. You make some circles, but release any tension you may feel. All right, now we'll come to pigeon on the opposite side. So the left knee will come forward, and you can come into this lots of different ways. Slide the right knee back, walk the left knee out to the outer edge of your mat, walk the left foot closer to the right hand. Now again, we're squaring off the hips, so you'll lift your right leg up. The right heel should be directly behind your hip, so you can just look back there and see. If it's not, move it till it is, because we want the hips to be square. All right? Take a breath here. Once the hips are square, sneak the hips back. Release the right knee to the floor. The hips are still square. You can lower down to your blocks. You could lower down to your forearms. You could put a blanket underneath that left hip, because the hips, again, we want them to stay square. So surrender to whichever shape is working for you. You may notice that if you wanted to modify and do this on your back, one side feels differently about this than the other. And again, as I instructed earlier, if you feel that you can engage the strength of the core and feel the breath moving all the way into the back of your body, into that low back area. So a lot of times when we hold tension in the hips, it transfers up into the low back. So hopefully this morning we've done some things to release some tensions, to allow you to have that sense of simply being. According to the way of the world, the way things are, which is kind of what we're all doing right now. Okay, hands back to the mat. Come back into your tabletop pose. Find that nice release through the left hip by sliding the toes back, pushing into the left heel. This could be plenty for you. Feel like lifting the left knee and stacking the hip, opening up. This is called doggy hydrant pose. I don't know another name for it. I definitely don't know the Sanskrit name for it, although I bet Cindy out there, she probably could find it. All right, release the left knee to the floor. Walk your hands back. Sit up on your heels again. Stretch the arch, stretch the front of the body. Take your hands to the tops of your thighs. Exhale into your cat stretch. Inhale, lift up to your cow. Back to cat. Through to cow. One more time, cat stretch. Up into cow. And maybe what you're noticing is your toes more than your spine. Come on down to your backs. And hug your knees into your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. Release your feet to the floor. Place your right ankle on your left knee. Push your right knee away. Push your left thigh away. Flex your toes back towards your knees. For those of you who are wondering what the people were doing on their backs, we'll do the same thing. So this is a reclining pigeon or Sukrindasana. Wrap your hands around the back of the left leg. Send your left heel up to the ceiling. Now if that feels like it's too big of a stretch, keep your left knee bent. Release the left foot to the floor. Keep your right ankle on the left knee. Take your arms out into a T. Move your hips to the right side. Drop your right foot all the way to the floor on the left. If the floor feels like it's too far away, put a block underneath your foot. Look over to your right hand. Maybe reach the left hand to the top of the right knee and push the right shoulder to the floor as you push the right knee away. And release, come back to center. Square yourselves up. And this time we'll place the left ankle on the right knee. Flex the toes back to the knees. Wrap your hands around the back of the right leg or your strap. Send your right heel up to the ceiling. Melt your shoulders to the floor. Engage the strength of the core. And feel your breath once more. It's rising, it's falling. Your shoulders are anchored to the floor. What do you notice here? And release the right foot to the floor. We'll come into the twist on the opposite side. So take your arms out into a T. Lift your hips, shift them to the left. Drop the left foot all the way to the floor on the right or to the block. Take your right hand, place it on the outside of your left knee. Anchor into your left shoulder. Push the shoulder and the knee away from one another. Breathe and feel the space that you're noticing. All right, let's release and come back to center. Place your feet on the floor. Time flies when you're having fun in your yoga class. All right, so now we're on the floor. Take your hands right against your thighs. Push your thighs away and push your shoulders to the floor. You'll feel that natural curve in the low back. Engage the strength of the legs. All right, release your hands down to the floor. As you exhale, push your low back flat onto the floor. Take your breath all the way down. On the inhale, arch into the back. We're back into that little cat-cow action. Exhale, release your back down to the floor. Inhale, make your way up into your cow, reclining cow. Exhale, reclining cat. Begin to find the steady rhythm that your breath is guiding you through from cat to cow, back and forth. And we'll come back to neutral. We actually are already at Shavasana. So if you wore socks, go ahead and put your socks back on. If you wore a sweatshirt, put that back on. If you have a blanket and you want to place it underneath your knees, that can be awesome. If you'd like to flip yourself up into legs up the wall, Suzanne or Josanne, both of you, I know that's favorites for you. That's a great option. Wherever you decide to go, I'll ask you to go with a place of symmetry though. So wherever your right side of your body is, the left side of the body should match it. And come into your Shavasana with that sense of surrender. Let your hands relax next to your sides with your palms facing up. And allow yourself to just start from the tips of your toes, taking your awareness to the tips of your toes, and then working your way up the body, slowly, symmetrically, with patience. Compassion, checking in and noticing if there's a place in your body that desires or longs for a little more space. Take a full breath in and exhale it out. Whenever you're ready, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel the awareness returning to your body. Bend into your knees and roll and rest on your right side, curling up into a little ball. Allow the breath once more to move freely through the back of your body. Again, Stephen Mitchell's translation of Tao Te Ching's beautiful teaching. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Make your way up into a seated pose, keeping the eyes closed or just gently looking down. As we bring our hands to heart center, as always with love and gratitude, namaste.